Welcome to Red Ice Radio Sundays. I'm your host, Henrik Palmgren. I'm coming to you from the west coast of Sweden. If you are a regular listener, a newcomer to the show, or if you came across this program somewhere out there on the web, I hope you all check out our websites for much more interviews, our news, and more information. It's red-ice.net and also redicecreations.com. A big thanks to Webster Tarpley for being with us last Sunday, talking about his book 9/11 Synthetic Terror. And today we have Alan Watt on the program, and I know many of you out there have anticipated this show, so let's go, enjoy the program. Today we have Alan Watt with us on the line, and I know many of you out there are as excited about this program as I am. I've got many requests from you guys, our listeners out there, to invite Alan to Red Ice Radio, and I'm very glad he's here with us today. I have heard many of Alan's previous interviews, and I know that he is very knowledgeable about a lot of different areas and topics, and I have a bunch of points and areas that I'd like to go through today with Alan. And I also want to mention that he has an awesome website with a bunch of material on it, lots of his previous radio shows, audio clips and video clips. He also has a few of his DVDs out there up on the site called Reality Check Parts 1 and 2. And we'll talk more about his DVDs later and let Alan talk about what he's got on them and how you guys can get them and support his work and so forth. His website is cuttingthroughthematrix.com. That's one word, cuttingthroughthematrix.com. So do check that out later on or as we talk here today. So Alan, welcome to Red Ice Radio, and thank you so much for spending some of your time with us today.
It's a pleasure to be on.
Great. I want to begin to ask you, if you don't mind, considering that I think you'd agree with me when I say that most people today are asleep. So I wanted to ask you, when did you awake to all of this, and what made you, open your eyes to the obvious manipulation that is going on all around us?
I think I was born like this. I always say it's a form of autism that allows you to see things as they really are.
Mm.
And I grew up watching the problems in my immediate society in Scotland.
Mm.
And I found that everybody's problem was the same problem. It was primarily financial. And this is in the days before the glut of cheap goods from China and credit cards.
Yeah.
And I realized we lived even then in a managed society where the bulk of the population earned pretty well the same income, which was just enough to keep them alive and pay rent. And most people paid rent in Britain at that time.
Yeah.
And it truly was a managed, fixed economy, which kept them exactly in that position. And when you're a young toddler, you can walk through different people's homes to visit your friends, and you're ignored by the parents. And you can listen to the parents argue all about the same things, which were basic necessities. And I asked, well, why, how come, if this was supposedly Great Britain, how come that most of the people I knew were pretty well all in the same boat, financially?
Yeah.
Where did all the money go? And then you find by studying, even early study, I went to adult libraries, and I found out that only a few hundred families in London, hereditary families, really owned the power of what had been the British Empire, and they still do.
Yeah.
That was very intriguing, because when you think about it, if we have been here for millions of years, and supposedly by the theory of economics, every hour of labor you produce ultimately is either spent or saved or passed on to your offspring, how come most of the people, millions of generations later, don't have very much?
Exactly.
And how come a few do?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not through thrift, of course. It's through a system which is bigger than just an evolved system.
Yeah.
It's a religion and a system, definitely involving people who intermarry one another, a form of selective breeding, and there's positive proof all around us on that score.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And I'm intrigued by your name at the website, Cutting Through the Matrix, because I agree that it is a kind of a matrix. And I mean, what does that mean to you, that word, and how do we break the spell or break free of the matrix, so to speak?
Hmm. It's not only breaking free, and here's the problem. Most people are not leaders in any generation. Most people are followers.
Mm.
And it's become progressively more so in the last few generations.
Yeah.
We've gone from a taste of a beginning of freedom for the ordinary person. We've gone from a taste of that into a well-managed society. Most people today are being managed. They suspect it, they feel it, they know it, and they don't mind. So that's the thing. Most people are content, and they will be content until their own personal consciousness is blotted out. They do believe that these benefactors above them are truly benefactors, even though they never see the faces of these faceless bureaucrats, or attend the meetings that they attend, or even know their agendas. The media has done such a fantastic job in controlling their minds for them and doing their reasoning for them, that they now expect that anything that's important will be told to them by the media.
Yeah.
They believe that.
I mean, that's a real problem, because we are in a situation here where the the lying, the state-sponsored truth, so to speak, is broadcasted on through the media, the mainstream media, and we have a bunch of people all around the world who go to this source to find out about the truth, and I mean, this is like a trance, almost a mind control. I mean, I know that you've spoken about this before as a science, correct?
It is a science, yes.
Yeah.
It's a science which is so well understood that it's taught to the few involved, who themselves will put out documentation on it, which are generally ignored. Most of the public don't read books which are kind of boring to them. And Zbigniew Brzezinski, who's always been up there as a presidential advisor, and who is a form of you might call him a mind specialist for psychological control of the masses. In his book, Between Two Ages, he has a chapter called The Technotronic Era. And he talks about the coming time, which is here actually, it's here right now, where forms of science will be used on the public. Now, technotronic meant that part of it would be a form of radio-type beamed waves, which would sort of lull the people into sleep, keep them happy and contented like grazing sheep. As they go through big changes, they wouldn't notice. But the other part was, he said, shortly the public will be unable to reason for themselves. They will look to the media to do their reasoning for them. And therefore, anyone telling them something which is not on the media will not be believed. And that's what you find now. If you tell someone something which you have proof of and show them the documentation, they will still disregard it unless the media tells it.
Exactly. I mean, do you think that it is something in the... I know a lot of other researchers have pointed to the fact that the television itself, the frequencies from the television actually is kind of hypnotic. Have you researched this?
They've always known that since John Logie Baird brought the TV out. It's what interested me was when I first saw someone, a person who was normal, who actually went up to adjust the television screen, because in those days, in the 50s and 60s and 70s, sometimes you get the rollover with the lines going across, and the horizontal hold, and he went to adjust it, and he stopped dead in front of it, and then he had an epileptic seizure, even though he'd never had any epilepsy in his life before. And it was found that the brain, the actual frequencies of the rollovers corresponded exactly with his conscious brainwaves. So in some people it was an overt action. They'd actually show what happened to them. But most people were simply being hypnotized by it. And when you're hypnotized, you can be very suggestible.
Yeah.
And many ideas are put straight into your subconscious that it bypasses the sensor part of your brain. And you have no say in it at all. In fact, it goes right into your subconscious.
Mm.
And that opinion is now your opinion. It's a straight downloading type technique.
Yeah. So
now that they've digitalized it,
yeah.
I think they've gone a step further.
Hmm.
It's more precise now.
You're talking about the high definition TVs and so forth?
Yes.
So do you think that they will be able to refine the frequencies now and basically even more? We will be deeper into the matrix, so to speak, after this has been implemented.
Yes, they did. What was interesting too was that when they brought out the different Pac-Man and all these war-type games, to train a generation to be soldiers, and that's why they gave them all the war games for PlayStation and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
These things were all used for training the military years ago.
Yeah.
So that was deliberate. They wanted a generation 20 years down the road that would not react when they had to see a person and just shoot them. That was a form of getting over that natural inability to kill people. You train them from birth to do it, and you don't see them as people anymore. But it did come out a few years ago in Japan, which led this field, when they brought out a new type Pokemon or something, that thousands of Japanese children, on the first showing of this thing, had seizures.
Yeah, yeah.
And now one of the guys in that the group of scientists did admit that was deliberate. That was a test to see if they could actually penetrate into certain brainwave patterns of the youth and alter their consciousness. So they know what they're doing, that they're not making mistakes.
No.
They are fine-tuning this form of digital strobing to affect the mind.
So things like HARP and so forth. These are basically things that are, not necessary. I mean, I don't claim that I know that HARP is involved in any kind of mind control or anything like that. But that is the suggestion from a few people, and but that isn't.
It is working. In fact, HARP about 5 years ago. Started to broadcast a pulsation signal just before the 1200 megahertz range. And it's now day and night. It's on 3 different areas on the shortwave radio band. Full time. And you can't mistake it because it's the most powerful signal on the shortwave.
Okay.
It's been beamed all across the Americas and a good part of the world. And they've already claimed that officially that they can carry a secondary signal with HARP and put ideas straight into the minds of the people without them being aware.
So, I mean, this obviously, draws my attention to the fact that we have, people who basically loses the grip sometime, go totally berserk and starts to kill a lot of people or similar things like that. I mean, do you think that these kinds of technologies could be involved in these kinds of things?
It's not even a matter of thinking it. It's actually published. A good example is Dr. Nick Begich.
Yeah.
Who brought out a couple of books on this type of technology, which, you see, there are 3 levels of science. We have the level of professor and professorship down for the public. That's the bottom level of science, be it medical, physics, whatever. There's a higher level which the CIA and MI6 and covert agencies use. And then there's a level above that which the ultra-elite themselves have and use. Now, Dr. Nick Begich